Hey, what's up? It's Phoenix and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I encourage you to hit that like button, to subscribe for more quality content from Phoenix, and to share with your friends. I also encourage you to check out my books. I'll put the link in the description. Now, lately, with thinking about the world and thinking about what's going on in the world right now and applying intellectual concepts to things that I observe in the world, I will admit that I've been thinking a little bit about chaos theory. Now, chaos theory has a very specific scientific context, often in terms of describing deterministic systems, which therefore can describe things like population or the economy or a variety of things in the world. And so chaos theory has a very specific scientific context. But as I've been thinking about the world right now, and as I've been thinking about chaos theory itself, I've made some extrapolations that I find to be very interesting and intriguing to myself, and that I hope that you can find interesting as well. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about with chaos theory is that it's really interesting to think about how very small things can lead to very huge consequences. So literally, a bat led to everything being affected in terms of the economy, in terms of our globe, in terms of our world, and in terms of people's health. And it's really interesting to think about how that is the way that things have been going. And this leads me to assume that every little thing that we do it definitely affects everything writ large. Now, some people might be a little bit skeptical of this claim. They might have a more cynical view, a kind of drop in the bucket view. But I live my life as though the things that I do have larger consequences. And we aren't always aware of the larger consequences of these things, but they are definitely there. It's very interesting to think about how in chaos theory, even a small miscalculation can lead to something massive. And I think that this is definitely true when thinking about the way in which we contribute to the larger whole without even realizing it. The way that our errors might lead to something catastrophic or might even lead to something unanticipated, unprecedented. And what all of this gets me to think about is how we can't underestimate what we do. We can't underestimate what we do on a regular basis and assume that it has no impact on the world and assume that it has no impact on anything. And I actually see this as a very exciting prospect, to think that there are many things that we can do in our lives that lead to positive impacts for the globe, that lead to positive impacts for our world, and that I would describe that the things that we do, even the little things, are not innocuous. It's crazy to think that a single miscalculation in the equations of Lorentz and the math that he was doing could lead to something so crazy as a completely different output. And I think that that's a very valuable idea. Now, I would say overall, chaos theory is definitely a scientific concept, but I'm very fascinated by these implications, by the things that we can extrapolate, and I find them to be very interesting. And I don't think that it is so much of a stretch to assume that the little things that we do on a regular basis don't affect the larger whole. Again, we can be cynical about this, and many people are, but at least in my life, I try to act as if the things that I do have a larger consequence. So I might make a YouTube video as an example that the ideas might be extrapolated into something deeper than I might have anticipated, that the ideas might become something that I might not have anticipated. And I think this is true for artists, for creative people too, that people can create these kinds of ripple effects, and I think that it's very powerful. Now, I might be a little bit optimistic about some of these notions. I might be a little bit more hopeful, but I really think that paying attention to what we do on a regular basis is very valuable. And I think the more insight that we can have into these things, into the things that we do, and a kind of metacognition, I think that things can be very deep. I don't think that the things that we do are innocuous. I don't think that they're meaningless. And I would describe this extrapolation of chaos theory to be something that shows us that things really do have consequences and that they can lead to very interesting and exciting innovations in our world. And that kind of positive idea keeps me going. So even though this is a very hard time right now, I'm thinking of these positive notions, these positive concepts, and I thought I would share some of these thoughts with you today. I hope that you enjoyed this talk, and there will be much more content to come, and I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.